This is Myford University Podcast, Episode 7. We're going to be doing root cause analysis today. Hello, colleagues. Welcome back to Myford University Podcast, where we simply give you powerful concepts and make them useful for real life, real business, and most importantly, real results. I'm your host, George Sloan, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most valuable tools I've ever learned. Not just in business, but in my life, okay? It's something I use daily, something I wish more people knew how to use, and it all starts with one word. In fact, that one word is my favorite question. Why? That's it. Why? It's my favorite question. It's how I make sense of the world. It's how I solve problems. It's how I think. And it's the foundation of today's topic. As I mentioned, we're covering root cause analysis. If you get into Lean Six Sigma, you're going to learn quite a bit about root cause analysis. So let's talk about root cause analysis today. Why does root cause analysis matter? Well, let me start explaining something real quick to you. Root cause analysis, or RCA, is just a structured way of figuring out the real reason something's going wrong. Not the obvious reason, not the surface problem, but the actual root of it. I've mentioned many times before, as a project manager, I have people who tell me the what all the time, and I say, please don't tell me the what. Let's talk about the why. So most people, when something goes wrong, they do two things. They react too fast, and they assume too much. And you know how I feel about the word assume. It makes an ass of you and me. It's right there in the word. I always, as I mentioned once before, I like to say I suspect. Then I will investigate so that I can get to use my other word that I use instead of assume. I conclude. So suspect something, investigate it, and then draw a conclusion. Anyway, when people react too fast and they assume too much, it's a very dangerous combination. Because if you fix the wrong thing, the problem's still there. It's just hidden for a while. Like putting a bucket under a leak instead of fixing the roof. Let me give you a quick story on this one. I used to have a whole bunch of Jeeps. And the thing with Jeeps is you got to know how to fix them, especially if you're out in the field. I'm not talking on the street. If you're on the beach or you're in the woods, you got to be able to fix the thing on the spot. But one of the things that you learn, because Jeeps are not just a thing you drive, it's a thing you tinker with and a thing you have to fix a lot. The thing that you learn is you want to get to the root cause as close as you can, because a lot of people, their attitude on fixing a vehicle is we'll just throw parts at it. And you might get lucky and hit the right one, but it's better to do some diagnosis and to get to the why, because then you can fix the real problem and then move on. And with Jeeps, it's only a little while and then you got the problem coming back again, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, root cause analysis basically says let's stop reacting and start understanding. That's a big one. So, as we usually do, let's talk about who could use it or who should use it. You don't have to be a Lean Six Sigma black belt. I am, by the way. We'll talk about my credentials another time. Or an MBA grad. I got one of those too, to use this. Though, by the way, it's something you should have been taught in any MBA program worth a damn. And it's the core tool in Lean Six Sigma process improvement. Again, a lot of what we're going to cover here are things that should have been taught in an MBA school and were probably glossed over. I vaguely remember it being covered, but they never really dug into it, and it's such a powerful tool. You're going to find out why as we go along. But, here's the truth. Anyone who solves problems needs this. And by the way, that's what is one of the best things about learning a new skill, is being able to solve a problem. Again, learn it fast and apply it faster. We talk about it all the time. So who needs to solve problems? Well, if you're a manager, you got to solve a problem. If you're a business owner, you got to solve a problem. If you're a project leader, you have to solve a problem. If you're a parent, you got to solve problems. If you're a coach, you have to solve problems. And of course, You have problems, you need to solve them. And if you can solve other people's problems in a way that is effective and efficient, and they will pay you and you will make a nice living out of it. So if you deal with recurring issues, this tool is for you. All right. So my personal approach, no assumptions. I've hinted at this many times, but it's one of the cardinal rules that I live by. So let me share something with you about how I think. I have one rule that can't be violated. I don't make assumptions, ever. Sometimes you're forced to. You have to make the best decision with the available information at the moment, but I avoid it like the plague. Again, I'd rather suspect, investigate, and conclude rather than make assumptions. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, and I'll reinforce it a little bit more. Instead, I suspect it. Then I go about getting to work, gathering the information, asking questions, and methodically working my way towards a conclusion. As I mentioned before, suspect, investigate, conclude. That's the chain. It's a simple process. It replaces assumptions. Assumptions are a shortcut of that chain, and shortcuts in most thinking almost always leads to bad outcomes. Sometimes you get lucky, like throwing parts at a car till you get the right one, but costly and time consuming. So asking why is how I break the assumption habit. It forces me and others that I work with to go deeper. I always want to question what I think I know or what other people know. Again, I've said it before. Don't tell me the what, tell me the why. And if you can't tell me the why, we're going to work at getting it, and I'll work with you to get to the why. All right. Here's the big payoff here. How root cause analysis works. So let's get practical. Here's a simplified version. Again, we take the complex here at Myford University and we make it simple of how to do a root cause analysis. Step 1, define the problem clearly. Be specific. Customer satisfaction is low is not enough. How about you say customer complaints have increased 40% in the last 30 days about long response times? That's pretty specific. I would go and I would trust that, but I would also verify. I would dig in and show me the data. Step 2, ask why 5 times. This is sometimes called the 5 whys method. Again, this comes from Lean. They also call it the fishbone method. There's a graphic with a fishbone where you keep going. Each why digs a little bit deeper. Keep asking questions that start with why. Oh, it's not working. Why? Well, it seems that something's happened. Why has that happened? And you just keep going. Why? And about 5 iterations, you usually get to what the root cause is. Let me give you an example. So, the problem. Team is missing deadlines. Why? Tasks are starting late. Why is that? People are waiting on their requirements. Why are they waiting on their requirements? Well, the requirements aren't finalized. Why aren't they finalized? The product owner is overloaded. Why is he overloaded or she overloaded? No one has assigned or the backup to anyone else. Sounds to me like we either need to get a new product owner or we might need a second one or an assistant at the bare minimum. So once you take care of that last problem, the others kind of all fall into place now, don't they? So we're not talking about a lazy team member here. We're talking about poor contingency planning, and that's the root cause. Step 3, use tools if necessary. I mentioned before a fishbone diagram, a Pareto chart. These are great if they're, if the problem is complex, they're great because it helps you visualize it. I tend to be a very visual person. I like to see charts and graphs, and I like to see things laid out and process mapped. You might be able to do it. Even if I do it in my head, I'm creating, a process flow chart when I'm solving problems. Anyway, don't let a lack of tools stop you. A simple whiteboard and a marker, hell, the back of a napkin, you can do this. Step 4, solve the right problem. Don't just fix the surface. We don't want to put a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches. Fix the thing beneath the thing. Okay? Many times you're just seeing a symptom of the real problem, right? Think about that one. Step 5, you got to monitor and adjust. Sometimes solutions aren't one and done. Now, granted, I hate doing the same thing twice. I usually like to try to get it done right the first time. But things don't always work. It's not a perfect world. So sometimes they're not one and done. You got to keep an eye on what happens next. I'll tell you something else. Sometimes you fix one problem and it reveals another problem further back in the line that you weren't aware of before, that it just created. Think about fixing a hole or a problem in a pipe, and then further back down the line in the plumbing, there's another problem with a different pipe, because now the one that was the big problem got solved, and a little problem just escalated to a bigger problem. I think you can get where I'm going with that one. All right, so let's talk about some examples, both professionally and personally. So we're going to start with a personal example. The problem, sales are down. Okay, well, that doesn't really tell me much. Start asking why. Fewer leads are converting. Well, why are fewer leads? Why are they fewer of them converting? Well, the reason why is the messaging has changed. Well, why did the messaging change? Oh, we have a new VP of marketing. Well, why do we have a new VP of marketing? Well, the strategy shifted without sales department's input. Well, wait a minute. I think we've just gotten to the root cause. There's a misalignment between marketing and sales. A lot of people think they're one and the same. They're not. They are two things that have to work together. It's like the right hand and the left hand not knowing what the other's doing. And if you really want to make things happen, you need to have both working in unison. So there's a situation. What's the solution? Realign the teams, unify the KPIs, that's the key performance indicators. Make sure that everyone knows what they are and has some accountability towards them, because if you want something to change and happen when it comes to KPIs, accountability is a magic elixir to make them care about those things moving in the right direction. Let's put it that way. And then, of course, rebuild the go-to-market plan together. Marketing, in many cases, is supposed to make sales easy. So I always like to mention that. Marketing is the front end and sales is the back end, but sales is where the real action happens, and you need to set the football up for the sales team to kick it through the goalposts for you football fans. All right. Now let's do a personal example. I know a lot of people that could benefit from this one. The problem is you're always late. Why are you always late? Well, you leave late. Why are you leaving late? Well, you'll underestimate the time of how long it takes you to get ready. Why do you do that? Well, you didn't plan ahead. Maybe you should lay out your clothes the night before. Hint, hint. Maybe you should make your breakfast and lunch the night before and have it ready. Hint, hint. All right, well, you don't plan ahead, so why? You didn't check your calendar in the morning for the morning. You actually check your calendar in the morning, not the night before. Well, if you'd done it the night before, you'd be okay. And why are you doing that? Well, you're too tired at night. Really? Well, I might take that a step further. Why are you too tired at night? You staying up too late? The root cause is not a time management issue. It's a recovery and prep issue. You're not lazy. You're under-rested and you're under-prepared. I always like to say, famous expression, better to be prepared and have no opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. Always good to prep. Then you are able to pivot if something goes wrong. So that changes the solution, doesn't it, when you think about it, right? All right. Next, why does this system set you apart? Well, it's real simple. Most people are lazy or uninformed. And when you start doing a few things, another expression I like that I've heard, if you want to be uncommon, you have to do uncommon things. Most people, they just kind of coast. With this, you're not coasting. So most people don't do this work. They guess, they assume, they react. Okay? Another expression I always use, I always say to people, when in doubt, find out. Do not guess. Do not guess. Come up with a plan. Know what you're about to do. Think about the possible contingencies that you need. Think about the possible unintended consequences that may come up. You got to think. Thinking sometimes is hard work. Not for you folks, because you're here and you're looking to learn how to get better and better, but you got to think. You're different. You got to ask why until it hurts, and then you keep going. That mindset alone will make you a better thinker, a better problem solver, and a better leader. You want to get ahead of 99% of the people in the world? Start doing things like this, because It's so easy now to stand out because so many people are just so damn lazy, honestly. So, root cause analysis, or RCA, forces you to slow down, zoom in, and think deeper. Again, you don't want to be replaced by AI. These are the kind of things you're going to need to do. And in many ways, it's a soft skill, thinking. All right, so when you do this and you do it consistently, you'll stand out in any room that you walk into. People will know that you're someone that is reliable, does considered, careful measurements, and is methodical in coming up with solutions to real problems. All right, final thoughts and action steps. So we're going to wrap it up this way. Root cause analysis isn't a corporate tool, it's a thinking tool. If you want to call it something fancy in the corporate environment, fine. At home, you don't need to call it root cause analysis, but you need to use it. So you can use it in business, you can use it at home, and you can use it in relationships, in coaching, in building a better habit, or fixing any system. I gave the example of fixing Jeeps. You don't need a certification to use it. Again, if you want to get one, Lean Six Sigma certifications are a good way to go. You can do a white one real quick. A yellow one takes a little more. Green, a little bit more. And black, you got to know statistics to do that one. We'll get into that in another post at some point. So just stay curious, stay humble, and keep asking questions. Again, there are no stupid questions. Really intelligent people ask a lot of questions. They want to get to the bottom of things, and that's what root cause analysis helps you do. So here's what you want to try. Pick a problem that keeps showing up either at work or in life. Ask why 5 times. Don't assume, suspect, investigate, and conclude. Can't tell you the power of that. You'll be surprised by what you uncover. And when you start solving problems, real problems, instead of the noisy ones, everything gets easier. Another expression that comes to mind. You want to have an easy life, do the hard things. You want to have a hard life, do the easy things. Think about it. So that's the power of root cause thinking. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who keeps running into the same problem and doesn't know why. And why they got to get that problem resolved. So for more tools like this, check out the full article on the blog at myforduniversity.com, or listen to the podcast, or sign up for the free newsletter because it's got a shorter form version of this if you want. Until next time, keep learning, keep thinking, and keep asking why. Thank you for listening. See you next time.